Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Karin Meilian from 5E class. Today I want to tell you about collecting quantitative data. Okay, this chapter we will discuss 6 topics. The first is the 5 steps in the process of quantitative data collection. The second is identify how to select participants for a study. The third is identify the permissions needed for a study. Fourth is list different options for collecting information. Fifth is locate, select, and assess an instrument for use in data collection. And the last is describe procedures for administering quantitative data collection. There are 5 steps in the process of data collection. The first is the steps of determining the participants to study. The second is obtaining permissions needed from several individuals and organizations. The third is considering what types of information to collect from several sources available to the quantitative research. Fourth is locating and selecting instruments to use that will net useful data for the study. And the last is administering the data collection process to collect data. Identify how to select participants for a study. First, identify your unit of analysis. Unit of analysis is the level, for example, individual, family, school, and school district, from which the data will be gathered. The next, you must specify the population and sample. Before you specifying, firstly, you must to know what the definition from population, sample, and target population. The next is probabilistic and non-probabilistic sampling. In probability sampling, the researcher selects individuals from the population who are representative of that population. In non-probability sampling, the researcher selects individuals because they are available, convenient, and represent some characteristic the investigator seeks to study. From figure, we can know there are 2 types of quantitative sampling strategies. The first, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. In probability sampling, there are simple random sampling, stratified sampling, multi-stage cluster sampling. And non-probability sampling, there are contingent sampling and snowball sampling. Identify the permissions needed for a study. There are obtained different types of permissions. In most educational studies, you need to obtain permissions from several individuals and groups before you can gather data. Permissions may be required from institutions or organizations, specific sites, a participant or group of participants, parents of participants, and the last, the campus on which you conduct the research. The next is list different options for collecting information. An instrument is a tool for measuring, observing, and documenting quantitative data. For collect information, you need to take data measures. There are 4 types of data measures. The first, performance measures, attitudinal measures, behavioral measures, and factual measures. Locate, select, and assess an instrument for use in data collection. Locate or develop an instrument. 3 options exist for obtaining an instrument to use. You can develop on yourself, locate one and modify it, or locate one and use it in its entirety. Search for an instrument. Whether you search for one instrument or several to use several strategies and aid in your search, like look in published journal articles, run an ERIC search and examine guides to tests and instruments. Criteria for choosing a good instrument. Once you find an instrument, several criteria can be used to assess whether it is a good instrument to use. There are reliability scores and validity scores. Reliability means that scores from an instrument are stable and consistent, and validity is the development of sound evidence to demonstrate that the test interpretation. The next is scale of measurement. There are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, the last topic is describe procedures for administering quantitative data collection. However, two aspects are standard across all forms of data and they deserve attention: the use of standard procedures and ethical practice. Standardization, performance measures, attitudinal measures, and observations rely on instruments. These instruments may consist of questionnaires that researchers mail to participants or hand out individually to people, surveys often administered in person or over the telephone, and observational checklists that researchers complete. And ethical issues, data collection should be ethical and it should respect individuals and sites. Obtaining permission before starting to collect data is not only a part of the informed consent process, but it is also an ethical practice. During data collection, you must view the data as confidential and not share it with other participants or individuals outside of the project. Okay, I think enough for me. Sorry for my weaknesses, and I hope this information very useful for us. Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you all.